Welcome, everybody. I'm joined by Andy Talaga once again, and we're here to talk light side scavenger deck. Scavenger format. Scavenger is a format where you just use commons and uncommons, so it's a little more fun take. You remove a lot of objectives and kind of overpowered rares, so it requires a little more creativity. So we have a deck in front of us, light side scavenger deck. Take it away, Andy.
Yep. So no rares, no episode 1, no premium cards, just cards that had common or uncommon. Which basically takes you from Premier through Death Star 2. So great format, really interesting here. So this is my main light side deck. Really pretty straightforward as to what I'm trying to do, but I'll run you through the setup and kind of the card choices that I have. So to start with Echo Command Center. It's probably the best of the 3-2-0 sites that are available to you. They're Force Drains -1 there. It's an interior site, so their walkers can't go there. You're on Hoth, so you can go attack their ice planes if they play ice planes. But you start the Echo Command Center. You're going to start heading for the medical frigate, so you can deploy 3 effects that always deploy for free and are immune to alter. And then the effects that I start are going to be Insurrection, so you can get your unique rebels of ability less than 3 or forfeit +2. Neighbor and Alice are limited to owner's move phase next to your sites, and you can deploy docking bays. You're also going to start with Squadron Assignments, so you can reveal a ship or a pilot once per turn to deploy the matching ship or pilot from your reserve deck. And we're going to start staging areas, so Force Generations +1 at each docking bay. You occupy or +2 if you control. And it does something with non-unique Star Cruisers, which you don't have any because they're rare. So yeah, you start that. On your first turn, what you want to do is you want to pull out either Home 1 Docking Bay or Hoth Docking Bay. I recommend Home 1 Docking Bay, but your second turn, you're going to pull out the other one. And then what you will do is you will try to put a character to one of these sites. So ideally, characters that can go you really want to go to Home 1, because if you occupy, opponent may not move to this site. And in Scavenger, there are no dark side spies. Well, there's Probe Droid, but Probe Droid would have to be undercover, and you can only deploy Probe Droid if a Star Destroyer is on the table. So there's like so many qualifications to it. And if they put a capital ship, the Star Destroyer down, this is a space deck primarily, actually. So you're just going to go kill them in space. So they don't actually have it with you. If you play a character to Home 1 Docking Bay, they have no way to actually get there. So you can just leave one character there and you're good. I recommend Figrin D'an, but you can use Balanced Attack with the or statement, take one Admiral or General into hand. You have General Dodonna, or you have General Walex Blissex. Now, he is a pilot, so he could pilot something if you really needed to, but you have some other characters that are fine to put down there. There's certain characters you definitely do not want to put down there, and we'll go through them when we get to characters, but basically you can put some of your characters to these docking bays, and your opponent, unless they have a Hoth site to move to your docking bay, they have no way to actually get to them. So you get a pretty good force activation going off of staging areas in your docking bays. Then what you're trying to do is use tunnel vision. So search your force pile and take any one card. Because you get pretty good force activation off of staging areas, you should be activating, a healthy amount of force to be able to tunnel vision and pull cards. In the early game, you're probably looking for your other 2-0 sites, the 2 on Yavin 4. In the late game, you're either looking for one of your ships so that you can reveal it to Squadron Assignments, or one of the pilots so you can go get the ships, or you're looking for one of your 2 systems. Now, I used to run 2 Kessels, but if your opponent plays Den of Thieves to put a non-unique alien to cancel a force drain, this is the only source of damage in the deck, and they could just indefinitely cancel your force drains, which, would suck. So I split it to Kashyyyk and Kessel, so that I have 2 sources of damage to actually end the game. Because once you set up in space, it's pretty hard for Darkside to win. So yeah, you're going to try to get Kessel out. And then what you want to do is get this guy, Kin Kian. While he's aboard a unique Gray Squadron Y-Wing at a system or a sector, adds 1 to your force strains there. So he'll turn Kessel into a drain 4. I just lost Kessel here. He'll turn Kessel into a drain 4 system, which is going to end the game pretty quick if you're draining for 4 each turn. Kin Kian, he is on a Gray Squadron Y-Wing, so you get your 2 Gray Squadron Y-Wings. He goes on Gray Squadron 1, which also gets Colonel Salm. Now, Colonel Salm basically doesn't really do a whole lot except for when he is piloting a Y-Wing once per battle, you can cancel and redraw your just drawn battle destiny. So he lets you, if you draw really low, he can redraw for you, which is really nice. And the 2 of them get ability of force, so you can draw a battle destiny, and then it'll be immune to attrition less than 4. And you probably have that pilot. You have your other Gray Squadron Y-Wing, which in a pinch, if you for some reason have to, like you lose Gray Squadron 1 for some reason, you can put Kin Kian on this other Gray Squadron Y-Wing to get the force strain +1. But this Gray Squadron Y-Wing is just actually better overall. So it's immune to attrition less than 3 when Lieutenant Telsij or Karie Neth is piloting. If both, then it's immune to attrition less than 5 and adds 1 destiny to total power. So you're only power 2, but your 2 pilots, which are Karie Neth and Lieutenant Telsij, each add 2 to the power. So you're going to be power 6, immune to attrition less than 5, and draw a battle destiny, and then add a destiny to power only, which is really amazing. She adds 2 to power of anything she pilots while she's aboard your starship, adds 1 to each of its weapon destiny draws, 2 if Gray Squadron 2 or when with Telsij. And Telsij, he subtracts 2 from the deploy cost of a unique Y-Wing deploying to the same system sector or docking bay, and adds 2 to power. So they all kind of like work together to do something interesting. Because Karie Neth gets to add to her weapon destiny draws, and Dark Side will probably play Victory class Star Destroyers, either to be able to move side 1, side 3 around, or just because Victory class Star Destroyers are probably your best bang for your buck as far as starships go. We play Intruder Missile. So she doesn't necessarily, so there's the option if they're going to be heavy space, you don't put Karie Neth on Gray Squadron 2. You put her on Blue Squadron 5, which is a B-Wing. Each of its weapon destiny draws is +2. Then she adds 1. So each of its weapon destiny draws are +3. And you put 2 intruder missiles on it. So you can shoot. And then the second one is at +6 and automatically hits a Victory class Star Destroyer without even drawing a destiny. So you can just, and then they recycle, and then you just draw back into them, and she just flies around the galaxy shooting down Victory class Star Destroyers by herself, which is pretty amazing. So you've got this little Y-Wing package going on to set up a drain of 3 at Kessel. Your other option is if they do get Den of Thieves out, you get out Kashyyyk. You can put Kin Kian there and make it a drain of 2, and then you have Hol Okand. So when he's piloting Gold 6, he adds 1 destiny to power only. While he's at Kashyyyk system, he adds 1 to your force drain there, which turns Kashyyyk then into a drain of 3. And then he's on Gold 6, and you can retrieve a force whenever you deploy this there, and it'll be immune to attrition less than 4. And you can add a second pilot. So you've got a bunch of other pilots. You've got BoShek, you've got Toryn Farr, you've got General Walex, Blissex, Harc Seff, Jeroen Webb, are all additional pilots that could go onto Gold 6 if you need. And then rounding out your Space Force, you have the 3 really good X-Wings. So you have Red 6 because it's a Destiny 6. And then Jek pilots it, and Jek can draw a battle destiny if unable to otherwise, which none of the other pilots can do in the format, because either the ship is rare, like Gold 5 and Pops, or all the cards are rare, like Biggs in Red 3 or Wedge in Red 2. or they don't draw Battle Destiny by themselves, like Tryin Gold 2 from A New Hope. He doesn't draw Battle Destiny on his own, only Jek. So Jek can just hold a system by himself if you need to. And then you get Red Squadron 4, which gets Hobbie. Hobbie deploys -2, so this deploys for 2 force total. X-Wing laser cannons can use 2 force to make X equals 3, and it's immune to attrition less than 4. So you can use the make X, you can pay 2 to make it 3 so that the ship that it's targeting is immediately lost. So this is a good way to get rid of side 1 and side 2 if they don't Talon roll you right away. And then you have Red Squadron 7, Keir Santage, I think this is how you say his name, deploys -2 aboard, and then other Red Squadron starfighters are each maneuver +1. I did end up eventually cutting Darklighter maneuver because you just don't really get into so many battles in space, mostly because they just really can't contest you in space. You're just so much better than dark side space. They don't really end up fighting you. They just end up running away, so you never get to really battle them, which makes Darklighter spin a little bit worse. But it makes it harder for things like the SFS cannons to shoot you down on dark side if your maneuver is higher. Like Hobbie gets to be plus maneuver +2, so Red Squadron 4 now becomes maneuver 7. So it's really hard to actually shoot some of these ships down. And then Keir Santage, he adds 2 to power, and then he can subtract 2 from the cost of a unique Y-wing or X-wing deploying here, which makes Hobbie and Red Squadron 4 deploy for free because it's -2 and -2, and then Red 6 only deploys for 2. So you get like a lot of efficiency on your deploy costs out into space with, you know, all your pilots. You've got your weapons to shoot them down, and then if they don't come and contest you, you basically set up 2 drains of 3 or a drain of 2 and a drain of 4. Sometimes it's better to do 2 and 4 if they get like resistance, or if they get like resistance out so that it caps at 2 and 2. You could also do 3 and 3, and then they both get capped. But you know, regardless, you're going to be draining for a bunch in space, and if they ever try to come fight you, you have a lot of tricks. So you've got 2 copies of Organized Attack. So if the battle is just initiated, each of your X-Wings and Y-Wings present is power +1 and immune to attrition. So it's everything except for Blue Squadron 5 becomes power +1 and immune to attrition. A lot of times you'll just use that on your opponent's turn, and you'll be like, all right, I'll just forfeit, you know, General Blissex for 5 because, you know, Insurrection, rather than burn your Organized Attack if you haven't like tracked Destiny. You have an out of nowhere. So if you have a starship with maneuver greater than 3, use 1 force to add a Battle Destiny. So your 3 X-Wings can all draw essentially 2 battle. Well, Jek will draw 2 Battle Destinies. The other ones won't. But if they're together, then you know, you can draw, you know, 2 Battle Destiny there. Your Y-Wings never really get a chance to be above maneuver of 3. So this only works with your X-Wings. You also have Power Pivot. You do have 3 Starship weapons. Now, Intruder Missile can only go onto Blue Squadron 5 here, but sometimes you just play Blue Squadron 5, throw, you know, Jeroen Webb on it, play the Intruder Missile, and Power Pivot their Star Destroyer that has a bunch of pilots on it and kill them. And then similarly within space, you have just some good interrupts. You've got Rebel Barrier. So if they do come down hard against you, you can just barrier and, you know, run away, or reinforce and move all your ships there. And then the other side of balanced attacks, if you have more than 1 class of snub fighter, A-Wing, B-Wing, X-Wing, Y-Wing in a battle, for each different class, add 1 to attrition against your opponent. So you do have a B-Wing, Y-Wings, and X-Wings, so you can add up to 3 attrition, and you can loop this because it's a used interrupt. And you have a copy of a few maneuvers to get you out of jam, and also have a trackable 6. Other cards that you end up with in this deck, so we talked all about our pilots, but you want to mitigate any force strains on the ground. You really don't want to go to ground. If you ever have to go to ground, you're probably going to lose this game. You're a space deck. So You have a bunch of spies. You've got Commander Vanden Willard, you've got Jeroen Webb, and you've got Momaw Nadon. Now, Momaw Nadon can also steal Bubo and protect your other undercover spies. And you have 2 copies of Undercover and a copy of the Signal to go get your Undercover. The Signal also gets your 2 Projection of a Skywalkers that you can play on 2 of their other sites to make those, force drain -1 there. You have Honor of the Jedi to protect your non-battlegrounds, but also prevent them from draining at non-battlegrounds. And then 1 copy of it could be worse to loop and cancel, a force drain or something. And then you're trying to track and retrieve force with Figrin D'an. So you're doing like all this like force drain denial. And in a real pinch, you can use Harc Seff, who's, very good, but it's fragile because you really need to defend him. He can spend X force to reduce the force loss of a force drain at an adjacent site. So he's got to be down. You probably need somebody to protect him. And then if they're draining, you can cancel the force drain at the adjacent sites. They're just going to move in front of him. So he ends up having to like run away a lot until they are able to like put presence on 2 sites, and you have a tough time running. So that's why I say it's kind of like in a pinch you would use him. You have to really think about how you can use Harc Seff, but it's a very powerful effect. A lot of times he just ends up being a pilot. Other than that, you have a Wise Advice and 1 Grabber. You don't start that, but that's some Sense Alter protection. Not that Sense Alter really gets played a ton. And you also have a copy of Your Insight Serves You Well to cancel scanning crew and numbers, basically. You could throw it away if you get it really early to go pull out your Honor of the Jedi. And the last card that we have to talk about is Grimtaash. It's just a good card to do hand control with, basically. Yarna or Well Guarded will probably be out on all the non-unique decks. So you're usually going to use Grimtaash to make them stay at 12 cards or less. But yeah, that's it. It's just a space deck that's going to set up some big drains in space and have a very powerful space force with organized attack backing it up, and very good activation because your opponent can't attack you at your battleground sites. They just can't get there. So that's the deck. It's very, very good.
Yeah, I also think that for folks just looking to explore the format a little bit, this is a really good primer on what cards to include and some sort of synergies that exist there. So this is really helpful. I've never played Scavengers. I might try it out myself. So
it's a great format. It's probably my favorite format to play Star Wars. Well, Cube is, but it's impossible to get enough people together to ever draft. So Scavenger takes that spot. It's way better than like all of the Jedi or which is like sealed deck or Premier to New Hope sealed deck or any of the constructed formats. Scavenger just is a much more interesting format to me.
I agree. All right, so I think that's all the time we have for today. Andy, thanks for sharing this deck.
You're welcome.
And feel free to leave comments. We're really close to 1,000 subscribers. We're going to do a special video if we ever reach it. Should have said at the front end, but who knows? If you're still listening, you're probably subscribed. So, but thanks for tuning in, everybody, and we'll catch you next time.